Um, Thank you, Dean, for helping us with the recording. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for coming. And tonight, we have Denny and I will be sharing on the title Rooted in Gratitude, Honoring Ancestors with Buddhist Wisdom. So Danny is going to talk the part about ancestry, the importance of our ancestors, parents, and so on and so forth. And he's going to talk about his book. And for
Venerable,
myself,
we can't hear you online.
more about Buddhist practice, especially from Mahayana Chinese Buddhism perspective. So without a little bit soft, I think. Okay. So if anyone has any problem like hearing me, you can just raise it. I'll pass it to Danny to start. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Venerable. First of all, I want to thank Shifang Temple and the Venerable for inviting me to talk here tonight. I've done a couple other TBIF talks, and it's always a pleasure and an honor to be here and talk about the Dharma. And, the other thing about it is it's fun. We get a nice meal, we get a chance to do a little meditation and also to converse and have a community. So the other thing is it's always wonderful to team up with Venerable Miao. We've done it before. We did a TBF talk and one talk at the First Unitarian Universalist Church in San Diego here on aging. And the gist of that talk was old age ain't for sissies. In other words, don't buy into the stereotypes and negative stereotypes of being old, because that'll take years off your life, quite frankly. And there's real research that shows that. Tonight, we're mostly going to talk again about ancestors, and I'll be describing my writing of my memoir and family history. It actually ended up in 2 volumes. But the main discovery before I start is it was a real surprise. It turned into something that I was totally unexpecting, and that was a spiritual side to it as I was writing it and finally getting it finished. It turned out it exemplified to me many Buddhist principles that are present in our lives. So I'm going to begin, first of all, by asking why even do it? Why write a story that conveys others to others about yourself? And there are some reasons. I guess the paramount reason I didn't even list here was I was asked to do it by my son and grandkids. They were really interested. You reach a certain age and they want to know what it was like in your life and stuff. So in a sense, I did it and I found out that it was a growth experience for me and a experience of self-discovery. And as I mentioned, it launched me on a surprising spiritual journey. But I also did it to inform significant others, and I just mentioned my family, but more extended kin as well. I have cousins and a sister and others. Unfortunately, my parents and grandparents are all passed now, but extended family. And in Buddhism, there are spiritual and religious reasons to look at this as well, and we'll get back to that later, especially with Venerable Miao's coverage. But to begin with, you have to ask, which story do you want to tell? And I started out with my personal life journey, doing my memoir, but I immediately realized, look, I can't write this story without looking and talking about my parents, my grandparents and stuff, because they were significant. So, again, I started talking about them and I went immediately to place. Place is very important. All my ancestors, excuse me, come from Red Wing, Minnesota in Goodhue County. You probably never heard of Red Wing. It's a city about 16,000 on the Mississippi River. and it used to be the wheat capital of the world at one time back in the 1870s. But the point is, they were all there in place by the late 1850s. They came from uh, Germany. I'm three-fourths German and a fourth Swede, so I have to warn you, I'm a Viking, don't get involved with me in an alley. So in my dreams, right? The other thing too is there should be an overarching message in your talking about your life's journey. That's really important. For example, rags to riches, overcoming adversity, etc. Mine was a little bit of both. But especially what I recognized once I was writing this was how education was so central and so important in my life. Um, but the bottom line is, hopefully, you'll have a major theme to make your story more compelling. Well, again, what do you gain from doing it? Self-reflection. It requires you to reflect on your own life experiences, looking back. You gain insights even now as an elder. You have some personal growth, even looking back and reflecting on your life and the lessons you've learned. Secondly, there's a therapeutic aspect to this. It can be cathartic, offering closure and healing for past wounds. I had some of that as I wrote this. Legacy and documentation, I've already talked about that, leaving for future generations what your life has been all about. And by the way, also, there's always a little history in there too about what it was like around you, things were happening in society as a whole. So there's a little bit of history that goes in with that too. Connection with others. Your story will connect with other people who have had similar experiences, and it can provide them encouragement when they reach challenges that you've been through. I'll talk a bit about that in a second as well. And lastly, creative expression. Real inspiration comes by telling your experiences in your own voice using your own unique style. Now, there are downsides to this as well. Privacy concerns. Sharing personal details can destroy your privacy. Your story can make relatives uncomfortable with your disclosures because sometimes you're talking about family secrets or things that they might feel shouldn't be talked about. Secondly is subjectivity. Memories are always reflecting your own personal perspective. So others may remember events differently and even disagree with you. Criticism and judgment. Your life story makes you vulnerable to criticism from others, and they might think less highly of you. For example, I talk about my alcoholism in my book and stuff, and I try to be honest. I tried to own up to my um, weaknesses or drawbacks, as well as some of the things that I might have achieved as well. So I tried to be balanced about it and be honest. Emotional challenges, revisiting traumatic past experiences can be very difficult, bringing up painful, unresolved emotions. My dad, for example, this was the toughest chapter of all that I wrote because he was abusive, he was an alcoholic, and there was a lot of anger that I had to overcome and stuff. But I did get there, and again, I'll come back to that. After writing it, I did have a lot of catharsis that came out of that, and it also, I have to admit, it was time consuming. So I have copies here that I'm passing out around to the people here in person, and it came out to 2 volumes. It took over a year for me to write, and I was writing about at least 3 or 4 hours a day. So I was pretty exhausted at the end, and I'm going to tell everybody you should do this. So I don't want to discourage you from mentioning that. You don't have to write 2 volumes, if you do this yourself. Anyway, researching your family tree has become very popular lately, especially for people my age. Anybody over 60, I think, should really take a look at it and think about it. Ancestry.com, you probably have seen lots of ads from them. I'll get back to that in a second too. Finding Your Roots. I don't know how many of you might have watched that on public television. That's a very popular show. In California, Day of the Dead. I mean, that's a major holiday out here right around Halloween. And Buddhist traditions, which Venerable Miao will talk about, honor our ancestors as well. And other spiritual paths, I should mention Shintoism, especially in Japan, which is very heavy into ancestry. So the bottom line is that themes, when you do this, themes are going to frequently emerge and be surprising. You're going to see fierce struggle, adversity, suffering, success, triumph, etc. The bottom line is you will see drama once you start exploring the past and your ancestors. I guarantee it. For me, to begin with, the go-to source is ancestry.com. That has all the information on past lineages for everybody, just about. That is run by the Church of Latter-day Saints, which are Mormons. It costs a bit to subscribe to it, but it's well worth it. I think it's $150 a year or something like that. But it has all the information on births, deaths, relatives, marriages, divorces, etc., and a lot of other information that you can access as well. And I mentioned that my ancestors were immigrants from Germany and Sweden that came over in the late 1850s. I did not go back further than that because I was not familiar with what Germany and Sweden was like. And the other thing is I was out of my element. So I began the story on Ancestry when they came over. And again, they were farmers. They went through adversity, just a trip over, storms, seasickness, living in a sod house, wolves, wild wolves and bears. For the most part, there wasn't any government or law, droughts, floods, rattlesnakes. I mean, they had their challenges. And then along came one of the worst Indian wars in American history that nobody seems to know about. Everybody knows about Custer. But in 1862, Minnesota had an incredible, it's called the Dakota War. And the Native Americans deservedly rebelled because they weren't getting the reparations. They were starving to death. Anyway, the bottom line was 600 settlers died, and probably well over 1,000, maybe 1,200 Native Americans did. And I looked at this, and it was equivalent to having 29 9/11s, because when I looked at the population of Minnesota at 172,000, the death rate for that was, and then compared it to 9/11 with the death rate for New York State. I'm not demeaning what happened there at all, but the point is it was a significant adversity. My ancestors were close to ground zero during that time. So there was a lot going on. Childhood disease took two of my aunts and one uncle before I was born. Well, anyway, as I said, I wrote 2 books with Storyworth. I'll tell you about them right now. I wanted to show what Ancestry will give you. This is a little bit of a diagram of your heritage. I'm in the center here, and over on the right in the yellow and orange is my maternal heritage, and on the left in the blue and the green is my paternal one. So I can go all the way back. I lost my cursor here. Anyway, I can go all the way back to great grandparents on both sides. So I used Storyworth. This was an online service that allows people to create and preserve their narrative and their family history. That also costs some money, $125 a year. But you receive weekly emails where they ask you questions that you can write about. And it really is good. I mean, these people have it honed down so that they get you to write about things that are quite interesting that you would never perhaps think of on your own. And then once you're done, over a year, they publish your book. And that's part of the $125 thing. Of course, you end up ordering more books, which you have to pay for, but that's another story. So, as I said, my efforts culminated in 2 books. Stories about my kin, and that included my grandkids, sons, my son, my parents, and my grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, etc. And then my own story, which went to age 80. So here's a little bit of a glance at the contents of my book on my kin. And I started with a legacy of what it was like in Red Wing back in the old days. Talked about my grandparents, my aunts and uncles, cousins, et cetera, et cetera. My mother, my father, my siblings, grandkids, and my son. And then my own story, I talk about when I was growing up, what it was like. I grew up in a very isolated rural setting. It was an exurb of Rochester, Minnesota. And there was really nobody around. It was, kind of a long story I won't go into, but my experience was fair isolation up until 9th grade when they shipped me into Rochester for uh, high school. And then encountering education, that was a major adventure for me. I really got into it. I talk about some of the trips I went on. I talked about what it was like to be a professor for a third of a century. And believe me, at the start, it was rough. I'm talking 1968 to 72. There was a lot of rioting, violence. There were buildings that were being blown up on my campus, et cetera. And that happened in a lot of other areas. So it was quite an adventure. I talk about my alcoholism, some of my pottery, other hobbies, sports I liked, et cetera. My divorce and some of the depression that came with that. And lastly, my spiritual journey. And a big part of that was discovery of Buddhism. Unfortunately, I didn't get there till I was about age 62. But I wanted to give you one page out of what, well, 2 pages. This one I love because this is Christian was my grandfather, my mother's father, my grandfather on my mother's side, and Christian was his dad. So it was my great grandfather. He used to run around Red Wing and brag about how he got to vote for Abe Lincoln twice. I mean that's so cool. And then I had to put my granddaughters in here. Kermit came to visit them when they were younger, and that's one of the cutest pictures I have in my repertoire. This one really moves me quite a bit. These were 2 notable ancestors that were sons of my great-great-grandfather, Reverend Johannes Sundell of Vasa, Minnesota. This was the Swedish side, the community about 10 miles from Red Wing. And his sons volunteered to go into the Union Army and Navy during the Civil War. So Charles is over on the right here. He was a Union Army soldier who died in the Civil War and was buried in the National Cemetery in Memphis. He died of disease. And that's another thing I learned, that 2/3 of the fatalities in the Civil War were from disease. 2/3. The other third were war, of course, and getting killed in battle. And his brother survived the war. He joined the Navy at age 14, and I think he might have been involved in on the Mississippi with the siege of Vicksburg and stuff on a gunboat. But he died early as well in Vasa at age 41, and I suspect he had malaria because a lot of these soldiers came back with all kinds of diseases that did shorten their lives. But I wanted to make one comment about this because they're immigrants. Neither of these 2 guys were born in the United States, yet they fought in our Civil War to preserve the Union and end slavery. And it was a worthy sacrifice to our nation. So we're living in a time when immigrants are maligned and questioned all the time now. And I just wanted to point this out that we owe them a lot. Immigrants have contributed so much to our country, including people in my own family lineage. So I'm going to sum up here. My one wish is to change in the family line, no more alcohol and tobacco addictions that went way back. And, it's almost like you inherit it in a way. Another problem I had writing my history and memoir was I felt narcissistic. I felt that I was being selfish. And this gets away from a major tenet in Buddhism of non-self. But I thought to myself, look, I'm just focusing way too much on myself and being selfish, me, myself, and I, etc. So I did feel guilt, but I tried to balance that with thinking that I had good intentions. I wanted to leave a legacy for my kids, my son and my grandkids, and anybody else that could benefit from it. The other thing is life is a brief flickering candle, as Shakespeare said in Macbeth. So looking at my ancestors' lives, just staying alive for them was a major feat. I had much more gratitude for the blessings they gave me. And they illustrated a Buddhist concept, dependent origination, or we shorten that to call it causes and conditions. Their sacrifices led to my later success. And I soon realized, look, my accomplishments, what they were, stood on their shoulders. I could never have done stuff that I did in my life without that. And the other thing is I realized compassion for others more so than I would have because I saw their suffering. I saw their sacrifices. And, I was impressed about that, including my dad, who was wounded in World War II on the Battle of the Bulge, and he had a problem with his arm after that forever. They almost had to amputate it. And the other thing, lastly, is I have arrived at a little bit more self-compassion for my own mistakes. Because when you write about your life, you start at age 1 or whatever, whatever you can remember or whatever is told to you. And I realized how ignorant I was at the start. And I did a lot of unwholesome and stupid things when I was young and into my, sometimes even up to age 40. And, I have to admit, I still do stupid things, but much less frequently. So I'm glad of that. And I think, just getting old and also maybe my acquaintance with Buddhism has helped me to gain more self-acceptance. So one last thing about why ancestry might be important to Buddhism. We're going to be coming up to Venerable's talk here. It might not seem as important in our religion as, say, Shintoism and stuff, because we look at personal behavior, ethical conduct, meditation as a path to enlightenment rather than lineage or ancestry. But ancestry does become very important because of karmic connections. In Buddhism, we believe all of us are interconnected, all of us, through karma. And that's prior positive or negative actions by ourselves or other people, which include, of course, relationships with our family and ancestors and their descendants. So the actions of one's ancestors can have tremendous karmic influence on our current life. So honoring them can be a way of recognizing and addressing their connections to us. And the other thing in Buddhism is there's a strong emphasis on filial piety, respect for one's parents and ancestors. And that's regarded as a virtue. In essence, it's looked at as right action. Some of us who are Buddhists here will recognize right action as one of the Eightfold Path ways of achieving enlightenment. So in sum, my writing showed me impermanence, but especially looking at my ancestors and their short lifespans, the interconnectedness of all beings, tracing down my ancestors to myself, to non-self, because I realized the debt I owed to them, to my forebears, and compassion by remembering their sacrifices and pain. Um, so, um, some the questions you might leave, or I'm not suggesting we talk about this later, but if you ever think of writing your story, why or why not? If you write it, what would you put in or leave out? If you did write it, what would you hope to gain in the long run, etc.? We'll get to Venerable in a second, but in sum, I would say I'm really glad I did the writing of the memoir and the family history. I learned a lot, both about myself and my family. And I do believe everyone, especially over 60, should write their life story because it's worth telling. It's helpful to others and yourself as well. And lastly, and again, I summarize this, my biggest surprise was that my writings rapidly took on a spiritual dimension, and I'm so happy for that. It was totally unexpected. But I look back now and I can connect the dots to Buddhism and other religions as well. So thank you very much, and we'll have Venerable now tell us more about Buddhism. Thank you.
So can everyone hear me okay?
So far.
So far. Okay, so thank you, Danny, for sharing. For my part, I'm going to focus more on rooted in gratitude, honoring ancestors with Buddhist wisdom from the Chinese Mahayana perspective. So the contents that I've laid out is this 4 categories, 4 chapters here. The one is like what we can learn from the Buddha himself. He himself led by examples in terms of like paying respect to the elders, his parents, and also like from the text, the scriptures, what we can continue to practice and learn from the teachings that were left behind by the Buddha. So that is the Dharma aspect. And then the third one is Sangha. So we know that for Guangshan is our Sangha, Buddha's Light Mountain, translated in English. But where do we come from? Understanding the lineage, understanding the root, so that we'll be more grateful and for everything that we have, and then it can always trace back to the Buddha, and from the Buddha we can trace back to the previous 7 Buddhas. So everything is in a cycle, full loop, and the last one is what we can learn from it, reflections, and what we can apply, continue to practice along in our everyday life. Okay, so for the Buddha, anyone can recall the incidents where the Buddha shared the teachings, the Dharma, with his father. Who is his father? His father was a king. Okay, and supposedly Siddhartha, the Buddha, before enlightenment, is about to inherit the throne and become the next king. But eventually, long story short, Buddha decided to let go of whatever that is inherited to him, given to him, because he wanted to find the answers. How are we going to liberate ourselves from the cycle of birth and death? Okay, but in this context, let's just focus on what the Buddha shared with the king, who is the father. Okay, so based on the Mahayana Mahaparinirvana Sutra, which is in one of the texts, the scriptures, when the Buddha realized enlightenment, he actually went back to see his father. And then he shared with his father what he has realized, whether it is focusing on the Four Noble Truths, about impermanence, and the father listened and really resonate with what the Buddha shared with him. So at the age of 93, the king was dying. And then the Buddha can sense that, and then he returned back to the kingdom to see his father. So the disciples, the great disciples like Nanda, Rahula, Ananda, were together with the Buddha to go back and to see the king for the last time. So all of them were in tears, seeing the king who was laying down, dying. But then, what did the Buddha, the king say? The king, his father, held the Buddha's hand, and then he said that don't be sad. And this is just like what the Buddha mentioned about impermanence. And then the king was experiencing not suffering, but bliss and joy. Yeah. So in terms of like how we pay respect to our parents or even to our elders, there are many ways for us to be respectful. There are many ways for us that we can return the kindness that they have given us. And among them is one of it is the sharing of the Dharma. So the Buddha himself set an example. You might be wondering why. It is because when the Buddha shared what he has realized about the truth of life, it helped the parents, it helped the elderly, it helped everyone around the Buddha to see what is life is about, to see what is the truth. So the other examples is Queen Maya. We all know that Prince Siddhartha, the Buddha before enlightenment, when he was born, the mother, the Queen Maya, passed on 7 days after giving birth to Siddhartha. Okay, so the Buddha was being brought up by his aunt, who is also a princess. Okay, and but the Buddha always remembered his mother, the queen. So there was one occasion that the Buddha ascended to one of the heaven, that one of the place in heaven to share the teachings to Queen Maya. Okay, he shared about the Four Noble Truth, what causes suffering, what is suffering, how to end suffering, and of course the path to nirvana. And of course, the Buddha also shared with Queen Maya about nirvana, which is how to liberate oneself from this cycle of repeating oneself in life and death. Okay, so this is also offering of Dharma that is helpful to Queen Maya. Okay, and of course, the disciples of the Buddha was asking the Buddha why everyone, including the Buddha himself, even though he has realized full enlightenment, still cares so much about elders and also returning the kindness of the parents or even grandparents. Okay, and then the Buddha mentioned specifically about mother. Okay, the affinities that the Buddha had with Queen Maya is not just this lifetime. Okay, but in previous lifetime, long ago, in the Himalayas, okay, so there was a monkey king and with 500 monkeys. When they were like walking by, and then there was a hunter who set a trap to catch the monkey. Okay, this is what this picture that you're seeing. So when they were like walking by, they didn't see the trap, and the mother, the monkey king's mother, actually fell into the trap. So immediately, the monkey king, including all the monkeys, they held hands as if like this is a long rope, and going down to help the mother from this trap. So the Buddha mentioned that it is not just this lifetime that he was grateful to his mother, Queen Maya, but in the life after life, or even before that, the Buddha continuously repaid the kindness of his parents, okay, especially the mother who suffered a lot when giving birth to a child, okay. So, and when it comes to filial piety, there are actually 3 levels, just like what I mentioned earlier. The first one is most of us were thinking about, for our parents, for our elderly, we just provide the material needs like food, clothing, shelter, a place to stay. This is very, very the last of piety. And the other one is the immediate level, where achieving personal success to bring honor and a good reputation to one's parents and ancestors, meaning that when we achieve in our life, we recognize not only our own success, but also recognizing our ancestors who were the one that give us this opportunity or give us these conditions to flourish and excel in this present life. And of course, among the three levels of filial piety, the highest level is sharing and guiding parents towards a correct spiritual faith and wisdom, meaning that the focusing on the sharing of the realization of the truth of life. It is because material food, we can eat it, we can have it, we can enjoy it, but it is just a short time. It's just that present time. Okay, it won't last for long. Okay, but the second level, like recognizing one's success because of others, because of our elderly, that is just a second level. But the ultimate level, the highest level of repaying the kindness towards our parents or our ancestors is when they are alive, when they're around, we have the opportunity to share with them what is life, what is the truth of life, how we can help ourselves to go beyond repeating ourselves in this cycle of suffering. Okay, so the second part that I would like to share with you is on the practices today that we still continue reciting in terms of the scriptures, the text, and also not only by Chinese Mahayana Buddhism, but also by many. Okay, and the first one is something that some of you might know, but not everyone. But I would like to take this opportunity to share with you. So for the Chinese tradition, we refer to the lunar calendar, lunar month. So what I shared here in the PowerPoint, the July lunar month is usually falls in our calendar, which is August or September. It depends on the moon. So this is what I mentioned about the lunar calendar in a way. So July is the month that we share this kindness and redirect, dedicate merits to our ancestors. And also, the month of July is also the Buddha's joyful day. Okay, do you know why?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah? Okay, some of you who attended Sangha Day at Shila Temple last Sunday, you heard the story, the meaning behind the Sangha Day. Okay, so just a quick recap for those of you who already know. In ancient India, during the Buddha's time, summer is where they had a lot of rain, lots of rain. Okay, so within the 3 months, starting from May, June, July, the rainy retreat, they have what they call rainy retreat, meaning that they won't be going out for alms round, for food. Okay, they stayed indoor. And then devotees, volunteers, people come and make the offering of food to them. So they won't be walking in the rain. And one of the reasons why they have the retreat during the rainy season is because when it comes to raining, there are many worms, insects, or critters that is crawling out from the soil. If they were to walk on it, they might accidentally step on them. So that's why the Buddha said that instead of walking, going out for alms round, we stay indoor. Okay, so after 3 months of retreat, many of the Buddha's disciples has elevated in their practice, and many of them has realized different levels of liberation or enlightenment or aha, insight. Okay, so when they finish the rainy retreat, Buddha was very happy because he can see many lights blinking in the disciples' head because they have insight in the truth of life, about the truth. So that's why the Buddha was very joyful. But how about Ulambama Dharma service? Okay, so that's a story to it. So before we go into the other slides, on the photo that I shared, you can see like people praying and making offering. Okay, not only offering incense, offering food, and so on and so forth. We pray for ancestors. Okay, I will come to that later. Okay, the next slide is about the Ulambama festival, which is also celebrated in July lunar month. It is because of I'm not sure if you have heard about the story of one of the great disciples of the Buddha who had supernatural power. Okay, the name is a little bit long here, Mahamogayana. Okay, or in Pali is Mogayana. Okay, but anyway, okay, he had supernatural power, and then when his mother passed on, passed away, he was very curious where his mother was. Okay, where is his mother? So using his divine eye, searching from the heaven to the human, couldn't find his mother. Continued searching, and then he found his mother was suffering in hell. So the photo here, you can see the figure with a skeleton and then with a big belly because the mother couldn't eat, was suffering in the hell. So looking at that, he immediately manifests, bring a lot of food, and having the supernatural power to go to the hell and offer the food to the mom. But to his surprise, when the mother grabbed the food and tried to put in her mouth, it became charcoal and then started burning fire. So meaning that the mother, even though there's food in front of her, she couldn't take it because of her karma. Okay. And then at that point, the disciples were so sad, knowing that even with his supernatural power, there's no way that he can help his mother. So he went back to the Buddha and shared the whole story with the Buddha. And the Buddha said that with your merits alone, you won't be able to help your mom. But with the Sangha together, you can dedicate this merit that everyone cultivated throughout the whole rainy retreat, the whole rainy season, and you make offering, food offering to the whole Sangha. With the offering of food to the Sangha, you can dedicate this merit, redirect this merit to your mom. And he did that. And eventually his mother was liberated from this suffering. Okay, so this is because of with this story we can tell that even though Mahamogayana was very respectful and trying to help his mother, but with his help, it's not sufficient. Okay, he needed the help from the whole community to come together to help his mom. Okay, so because of this incident, we recite, we celebrate or we pray Ulambama Sutra. We have the Ulambama Dharma service in the month of July. Okay, so and related to that is another sutra that we recited, especially in the month of July, but also in any time. That is the original vows of Siddhagarbha Bodhisattva Sutra. Okay, so in these teachings, in this text, it's basically prayer. When we recite these scriptures, this text is to dedicate merit to both living and also departed loved ones. Okay, so usually around this time for us at Shivan Temple, it'll be next month where we will have this prayer service over the weekend. Okay, we will recite the original vows of Siddhagarbha Bodhisattvas. We will also have the triple contemplation service. Okay, so in this sutra, just a quick point out the contents of this sutra. The Buddha speaks in heaven to repay the monk's kindness and also to praise these Bodhisattvas for his great vow. And Siddhartha Bodhisattva, he made a great vow. What is his vow? His vow is to help whoever that is suffering in hell, okay, to help them. And that if there's anyone who is still suffering, he won't realize full enlightenment. So that's why he has this great vow to help whoever that is in need until this very day. Okay, so, and then in this sutra, this text also explains the good or bad actions that ones have done will lead to the corresponding results. Okay, if you want to walk and this path heading to north, of course, you're heading towards north. If you're heading left, then you make a left turn. So what I'm trying to say is every actions, it has the causes. When the conditions are there, there's always the effect. Okay. So of course, it also talk a little bit more about the suffering of the beings in the hell, but this is the sutra that we continue to recite until today. Okay. And the other sutra or text that we recite here at Shivan Temple, we recite this sutra the first Sunday of every month as we celebrate our birthday. You might be wondering, well, every time when you celebrate birthday is you have a birthday cake, you have birthday card, but why you want to recite this text, this sutra? So this sutra is about the difficulty of repaying the profound kindness of parents. Okay, so this is a sutra where the Buddha shared about when there was one occasion they come across a pile of skeletons, and the Buddha stopped and started bowing to that pile of skeletons. And then the disciples said that, oh, why do you do that? And the Buddha said that even though this is ancient India, not today. So like piles of skeletons might be very common during that time. But just imagine that. So bowing to the pile of skeletons, the Buddha said that it is because within this pile of skeletons, the bones that are white are the male, and the bones that are grayish are the female, because the female are the ones that usually give birth, who are the mother that give birth to child. So for a mother to give birth to a child, ones give milk, and then there's a lot of sacrifice that a mother will give to give birth to a child. So by bowing to that pile of skeletons is also a way to pay respect to the limitless ancestors. It could be our direct parents. It could be indirect. Anyone, okay, that have contributed or provide something for the society. So just upon skeletons, the Buddha pay respect to them, recognizing that whoever there are there, the pile skeletons, they could be our parents in the previous lives. You never know, because we're interconnected in so many ways. Okay, so just a line that I would like to highlight here, that this line here, even when mother's years reach 100, she still constantly worries about her 80-year-old child. Okay, so no matter how old this child is, the mom, in the mom's eye, is always a child. Okay, so that really reminds us that it is how we constantly try to repay the kindness of our parents, our teachers, ancestors, whoever that we come across in our life. Okay, and the sutra especially highlight the kindness of our parents. Okay. And the daily practice, of course, like in terms of the practice of the text or the recitation of the scriptures, we do that every day. Morning chant as a monastic, So we have a morning and evening chanting. We also do dedication of merit. Earlier, Leslie's were asking about dedication of merit. So whatever sutras or texts that we recited, or whatever wholesomeness that we are cultivated today, through actions or through recitation of the text. Okay, the Buddha once said that out of the 7 portion, okay, when we redirect this merit, it is 1 portion out of the 7 that were given or shared to our ancestors, to whoever that we would like to redirect this merit to. The other 6 portion is actually our own cultivation. Okay, so this is a reminder for ourselves, that for us to practice gratitude, repaying the kindness, we start from ourselves. When we recite the sutra, when we cultivate, we are the one that we have to do it, and we are the one who benefited from it. Even though we don't want to talk more about it, but it's a reminder that don't wait until others pray for you. We have to do it ourselves. Okay, don't wait for others to repay the kindness to us, but we have to do the other way around. Okay, so of course, daily practice include like giving, expressing our gratitude, even today, especially when our parents are still here, especially when our families are still here. We appreciate each other in a way. Okay, and going to the third one, I know because of the time, let me flow quickly. So the folklore lineage, okay, who we are and where we come from. Okay, you might see, wow, so many names. Okay, the first one, let us just look at the first one. That is the Buddha. Okay, if every one of you remembered how there was one occasion when the Buddha was seated and then hold up a flower and showing to all the disciples, and only one who smiled, only one that got the message. That is Mahakashapa. Okay, that is one of the great disciples that practice ascetic practice. Okay, so I don't want to go into a very detail, but from that disciples going on all the way until the next slide, the other one, Bodhidharma. So some of you know who that is. Okay, I please excuse me for those of you who are here. But Bodhidharma was someone from India, and traveled by foot to China. And then he was the one who shared the teachings of Buddhism, and especially focusing on meditation or Chan, to everyone who are interested in China. So he's considered the first Chinese patriarch, okay, in Chinese Buddhism, okay. And then from that onwards, going all the way to 33, that is Venerable Huineng. If any one of you know about the 6th platform, that is the 6th patriarch. And then, okay, long story short, let us just look at this one. From where we are, okay, we are the Linji school, okay. And then it goes all this different branches, and then from Shakyamuni Buddha, from the Buddha all the way until Linji tradition, who is also part of our practice. Okay, even though for us we emphasize on humanistic Buddhism, but this is our root. Our root is also from the Chan school. Okay, I won't go into details today, but I just want to just give you a quick image of where we are, the root is. If after today, if you want to explore more, you can just come to me. Okay, and our founder, Fu Guangshan, he is the 48th generation of Linchi Chan School. Okay, and he passed on 2 years ago, 2023. And he is recognized as the first patriarch of our Foguang lineage. So we continue from Linji to Foguang. Okay, so the Foguang lineage emphasized on humanistic Buddhism rooted in a traditional Chan, guided by the Linji spirit of direct experience. When it comes to meditation, when it comes to mindfulness, is everyday life, and it is that instant action of compassion and kindness, and how we integrate the Dharma in our daily life. Okay, and the last part, I know because of the time, reflection and application. Just a few things that for us to think about as we listen to so much information. I know a little bit overwhelmed to some of you. How do we carry our ancestors within us? Okay, ancestors, it goes beyond our parents, goes beyond our great grandparents. Okay, but it also includes those who are in debt with. Okay, someone that has helped us, someone that has taught us, someone who had guided us. And those are considered our teachers, our ancestors. Okay, how do we share this practice with those who might be mistreated by their parents? I know that earlier when I mentioned about repaying the kindness to our parents, father and mother, but I know that some people might not have that experience. Okay, being well treated by parents. Okay, but it's something that we can reflect upon, especially looking at the affinities that we might have in the previous lives. Okay, so of course, with that in mind, we have to recall what the Buddha taught us about letting go of hatred. Okay, forgiveness is not approval, it is a release to ourselves in a way. Okay, so because of the time, I won't be able to go through whatever that we are still practicing today in Foguangshan. We have Family Day, we have Sangha Day, we just celebrated, and we also have annual light offerings where it is a blessing for the whole family. Oh yeah, you see someone. Okay. Okay, conclusion. Okay. I know that filial piety is more of like a path of gratitude and liberation. But it is true honoring our ancestor that we develop humility, cultivate wisdom and compassion. Okay. So we have 3 minutes. Any questions, comments, and feedbacks?
First of all, thank you, Venerable.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I know today we also have friends from Denny's who come and support. And some of the terminologies I've shared is a little bit a lot, but hopefully whatever message that I would like to share with you is clear. Yes, if you want to go over to Denny's, please, so that we have online audience too, so that you can speak to the laptop there. Yeah.
Okay, you'll be live.
So I was curious in the dining hall that the whole
Was up on the side about how to
be with food and reflect and so on. And I thought using
Chan, CHA, and as meditation, is that the same thing or? Yes, yes. The Chan, also CHAN, it is referring to the Chan school. It is also referring to the mindfulness practice. Okay, Chan Pure Land.
great.
Yeah. So it's a different, the different emphasis in one's practice. So Chan is referring to mindfulness and also referring to the Chan school, the tradition that we're from.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So anyone from online has any comments, feedbacks? We have 2 more minutes. Anyone from here? Wow, okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, we have one question also from online. So we have it first.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go.
I think I heard, and I really liked that you said in reflection on the elders, ancestors, I could include teachers, gurus, someone who coaches, support people, which really helps me in thinking of how to be compassionate and give learning to and receive learning from them, not my parents, my biological parents. So yeah, that was very helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this comment. And on that, the Buddha reminded us, based on the sutra, repaying the profound kindness of our parents, that sutra itself, by bowing to the pile of skeletons, is a reminder that we never know. The people that we come across, we have the affinities that are interconnected.
Mm.
It's not just this lifetime, but it could be affinities that we have cultivated before. Okay, thank you. It's a reminder for us to be respectful. R, you have a questions earlier? Sorry.
Yes, no
Hold on,
apology
let me
needed.
unmute the TV. Yes.
Can you hear me okay? Thank you so much.
Hold on, yeah. Hold on. We are not hearing here. Ooh. Can you say something, R?
Check 1, 2.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that
Oops.
one.
Uh,
Okay. Yes,
So
yes.
great to be dialing in from afar and for the program. It feels as if with family, I have an uncle named Barrett, a cousin named Jeff, and so seeing familiar names, even with new faces on the call, and just dedicating merit to the memory of my uncle Richard, who passed away last year. So filial piety has been at the front of my mind and practice. And I'm wondering, sorry, I know that we've run out of time, so I'm wrapping it up here. How might you encourage folks to practice filial piety while also taking care of ourselves, that balance? It's something that has been showing up in my practice where I want to give, but also finding that balancing giving to family and taking care of self can be difficult personally. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, R, for sharing and asking this question. Just like what I kind of like share a little bit towards the end of the slides, where sometimes that we might have not that easy family connections. Things might happen, but it's just a reminder, just like the Buddha mentioned about forgiveness, and also it is a release for ourselves. Okay, what had happened in the past, we won't be able to change anything. But how are we going to cope with the present life, present moment? That is the key. Okay, so by forgiving or by accepting whatever that is in the past is actually a release. It's actually a way for us to be able to embrace what is the present moment. Okay, and the other way, the other thing that the other practice that I can think of is the constant dedication and redirecting the merits to our loved ones in general. Okay, so that we hope that with this dedication of merit, we can put an end to whatever that is not finished. Okay, as in a way for us to continue to move on. Okay, I'm not sure if that really answered a question, but this is something
Yeah.
that I can think of based on what the Buddha taught us, right? And
Thank you.
okay, thank you, R. Thank you. So let me go ahead and share the slides. Because of time, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Let us just okay. Yes.
Could we give gratitude? Could it be not only to those we love or we're kind to, but our abuses? That's what made us grow, right?
Yes.
So we give gratitude.
Yeah, we give gratitude to teachers, to anyone that we come across. So yes. Yeah. So it is one way for us when we do that, we are actually forgiving and also accepting. Okay. And it to us it's not easy, but it is a release to ourselves. Okay, because we don't want to punish ourselves anymore by just reliving the history, the past. Okay, it is not helpful. Okay, if we keep on thinking about that, yeah, even though it's not easy, but keep on reminding ourselves based on what the Buddha said, forgiving is a type of release to ourselves. Okay, so thank you. So let us join our palms as we conclude our discussion and sharing today. May kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity pervade all worlds. May we cherish and build affinities to benefit all beings. May John, Pure Land, and Princess inspire equality and patience. May our humility and gratitude give rise to great vows. So, announcements next month. It is our honor to invite Professor Sandra Warkov from San Diego State University to share about experiential wisdom of this. So it is based on Basho Haku composition viewed through neuroscience. Okay, so if you have your phone, you can take up and scan the QR code, and then you can find more details and also registration out of with all the details that is right there. Okay, and Professor Sandra, she was my teacher 20 years ago.
Oh.
So when I was in Buddhist college in Taiwan. So recently I managed to connect with her, and I feel very grateful to be able to connect with her and invite her to our temple next month. Okay, so thank you again, everyone, for joining us, including Denny right there.